Okay, hi Dream Team, welcome to our Theme 5 video. So basically you've taken home with you over half term the sample assessment material, and this video is going to summarise the basically opening the paper, the first stages and Theme 5. So we're going to go through the front page of the paper and then the Theme 5 in this video, and then you can watch the Theme 6 and Theme 7 videos to get those answers and our thought process on them as well. Okay, you can do this. So first of all, when you're looking at the paper, you know that you answer question 1, question 2, and then you answer question 3. You do not answer question 4. You are going to take into the exam a calculator with you and a ruler, pencil if you wish, and all your other bits and bobs. You're going to answer both the questions in section A, as we said, and you're going to answer question 3, which is theme 7. Use black pen, you write your name, centre number, candidate number, you put all the answers in the booklet. If you go to the additional pages at the end of the booklet, make sure you label them clearly so the examiner knows what question they're looking at. And also you've got 3 marks for your spelling, punctuation and grammar, your ability to communicate, use key terms and all the rest of it. Now, you don't have to do this, but if I was you, I would turn to question 4, theme 8, first of all, because we don't answer that theme. And provided you write it clearly, where it says theme 8, environmental challenges, if I was you, I would put a line straight through that and through the rest of theme 8, because that way you're not going to accidentally answer it. So I would literally take 2 seconds at the start of the exam, make sure you find the bit that says theme 8 on it, so you're not crossing out the wrong thing. Where it says theme 8, environmental challenges, we do not answer that. So I would turn to it straight away and cross it out, get rid of it. Once you've done that, back to the front, and we get on with theme 5. So, section A, answer all the questions in the section, and we begin with weather and climate. Map 1.1 and the photographs below shows average rainfall in Wales, England and Scotland. Okay, so you've got images from Northwest Wales, images from Eastern England. Now, obviously you're going to have your highlighter. Complete the following passage using 3 words or figures from the box below. Now remember, even if you get stuck, you do not leave these questions because they've given you the answers in this box. So even if you have a bash at it, you'll get it right. Exactly. Even if you have a go, you're going to get some marks. So if you think never eat shredded wheat, in Eastern England, the average annual rainfall is, okay, so East England is the light blue in the key, under 750. So in this area here, under 750. The line Y to X, rainfall increases towards the, okay, so Y to X, well there's more rainfall here. It's the west. So rainfall increases towards the west, where the relief of the land is much, well, as we know, the relief of the land is much higher. So, higher. Now, little easy one to get you going, easy one to get you into the exam frame of mind. But remember, if you do get stuck, the answers are in this box. Don't leave anything blank, okay? Next then, study diagram 1.2 below. It shows the cross-section from X to Y on map 1.1. Okay, so we've got a cross-section of a hill and we've got some relief rainfall. Right, write the 4 correct numbers from diagram 1.2 alongside each correct label in the table. There is one that is incorrect, 4 marks. Okay, so if you think about this then, we've got 1, the air coming off the sea, 2, rising, 3, condensing to form clouds, and then 4 is after the rainfall. So let's have a look then. Air rises and is cooled. Well, that's happening at number 2. It's rising up the hill, and as it rises, we know it cools. So we write number 2. Air rises and is warmed. That doesn't happen. As air gets higher, it gets colder. So get rid of that one. Area of low rainfall, rain shadow. Right, this one could be a little bit confusing. What's a rain shadow? Where's there not a lot of rain happening? But if you think, here it's coming off the sea, rising, cooling. The rain is happening here. Number 4 is the rain shadow. There's no rain happening there. It's already happened. It's been caught on this hill. But you could leave that blank and come back to it afterwards and work it out by the power of deduction. So warm air from the sea contains moisture. Okay, that's coming off the sea, so 1. Water vapour condenses to form clouds. That's number 3. Okay, there we go. So we move on. State one way in which the height of the land affects temperature for 1 mark. Now this isn't suggest one, which would be 2 marks. So nice and simple, 1 mark. The reason is temperature, and you would write temperature in full, decreases with height. Now, if this was a suggest question, or if it came with 2 marks, you've done your point, you could give a bit of evidence. Your evidence is that for every 200 metres in height, the temperature, again you would write temperature in full, decreases by 1 degree Celsius. So in this case only 1 mark, so it doesn't matter, but just in case, and then you've got an emergency mark. Okay, well done, we move on. Right, study weather map 1.3 below. It shows a low pressure system depression over the British Isles in March 2011. Instantly in my mind, I'm like, low pressure depression, that is bad weather. So we know we're talking about bad weather situation. We're talking about rain, something that we're very familiar with, rain. Okay, so we've got our map. Might look confusing, but we've got our key. We've got our different fronts, isobars labelled, our cloud coverage, wind strength in knots, and then we've got our types of weather. We've got rain, drizzle, snow, etc. And then we've got numbers which show the temperature. So it's worth just taking a quick glance over all of that. Complete the weather map by drawing the 996 isobar. Okay, it's 1 mark. Right, 996 is going to come between 992 and 1000. It's probably going to be a little bit closer to 1000. The line is never going to touch 992 or 1000. There we go, done. Then you're going to add your label onto it, as Miss Evans just reminded me, 996. Okay, make sure you put your label on. Next question. Calculate the difference in temperatures between the 2 weather stations for a mark. I'm going to show my workings, even though it's just in case. So in weather station A, the temperature is here, signified by the numbers, so is 12 degrees Celsius. So 12 take away, and the temperature here at B is 7, equals 5 degrees Celsius. Do not forget the degrees Celsius either, because it's really important. If that was 2 marks, that would be your 2nd mark there, right, for your working out. I put it in there just as a safety net, but in the actual exam, if it was 2 marks, make sure you do your workings. Right, use the key, and they've given you a big hint there to use the key, from the weather map 1.3 to complete the table below for 4 marks. Right, the answers are here, so persevere with it because the answers are here. So the wind speed at station A was, right, so we go to the wind strength in knots. And if you look, it is really hard to see on your photocopy, and obviously in the exam it would be perfect. Station A is a line with 2 notches next to it. So on the key, we've got a line with 2 notches is 20 knots. So in the space, we write 20 knots. Next one, the amount of cloud at station A. And you can highlight this, it's your exam, so if you want to highlight these statements, you can. The amount of cloud at station A was, well, the whole circle is shaded in, so it's full cloud cover. So you could put full cloud or full cloud cover. The type of precipitation falling at station A was, so you go to station A. Now here it shows you the weather key. The rain is a dot, and there is a dot next to station A. So the type of precipitation is rain. The wind direction at station A, again this could be tricky, is worth getting in your never eat shredded wheat. So never eat shredded wheat. Now the wind line is going in that direction, that way. So the wind direction is southwest. It's worth noting then, just so you fully understand that one, that the wind direction in B, the line is going in that direction. So at B, it would have been northwest, just so you understand that. It's based on the direction that the line is going. Okay, so next, and this is more like a WJC question here. Give one reason why it's raining at weather station B, but it's 2 marks. So you know you've got to do your point explain. Give one reason why it is raining at weather station B for 2 marks. So you've got to do your point explain. So what's happening at station B is you've got a cold front going over station B. When cold air meets warm air, it forces the warm air up. So if I just get the whiteboard a minute. Right. When you have cold air coming in, meeting the warm air, it forces the warm air up. When the warm air rises, as you know, it cools, condenses. So it goes up, cools, condenses, forms clouds, and it rains. So that's what we're going to summarise in this section here. Okay. So the cold front meets, I'm not going to write this in full sentences, but you would, the warm front, and forces warm air to rise. As it rises, it cools, condenses, and forms clouds. Yeah. And then rains. Obviously you'd write that in sentences, but there you've probably got 3 or 4 marks, not just your 2 marks. But by fully explaining it, you've made sure that you've secured the marks. So the cold front meets the warm front and forces the warm air to rise. When the warm air rises, it cools, condenses and forms clouds, and then obviously it subsequently rains. Okay, so you've got way into your 2 marks there. So next one then, quick drink, hang on. Study diagram 1.4 below. It shows a food web in the mountains in Russia. Okay, so we've got the producers, so on and so forth, food web. Give 2 reasons why producers are an essential part of food webs. Classic scenario 2 reasons for 4 marks, and we know we have to explain each reason. If I'm being brutally honest, this question's quite hard because your 2 reasons are probably going to blend into one. But ultimately, my first reason, now I'm not going to write this in sentences, you'd probably write, for the first reason is, the second reason is, but the first reason is the producers are the only part of the food web that absorb energy through photosynthesis. So first of all, they're the way that energy gets into the food chain. So first, producers, again, you're going to write this in sentences, only part of food chain chain to absorb the vital energy needed for the food chain from the sun. And then my second mark is going to come from via photosynthesis, or you could say they do this by photosynthesis. Then the second reason is the producers turn the energy into food. And this is the food source for the entire food chain. Okay, so you'd write that in sentences, but there you go. So the producers are the only ones that take in the energy from the sun. They do that via photosynthesis. Not only that, but also they are the only ones, they turn that energy from the sun into the food. And that food source is the entire food source for the food web. It wouldn't be there without, the food web wouldn't be there without the producer. So the producer is important because it's first. Okay, so you'd write that in sentences, not as my notes. Next then, and this is the last questions for theme 5, last questions. Study photograph 1.5 below, which shows the mountains in Russia. Again, classic questions. Suggest why plant growth is difficult for the environment for 2 marks. Now there are lots of different reasons here, but I'm going to take the easiest reason, and I'm going to say it's highland, so therefore we know that it's got low temperatures. And I'd write that in sentences. I'd say that it's highland, therefore that we know it's low temperatures. If you wanted your emergency mark as well, your emergency mark, you can also say that every 200 metre increase, you know that there is a 1 degree Celsius decrease in temperature. You could have talked about permafrost as well, but that's going to get you the marks to say that it's highland, therefore it's low temperatures. We've got an emergency mark by sticking a fact in that every 200 metres increase in height, there's a 1 degree Celsius decrease in temperature. So we end on our last essay question. It says compare. So compare, straight away we know we're doing similarities and differences, but the environmental impacts of 2 different ways of producing food in one ecosystem. It's quite a mouthful, so let's break that down. We're looking at environmental impacts, so impacts on the environment, trees, soils, all the rest of it. 2 different ways of producing food, one ecosystem. Right, you don't have to choose this ecosystem. In my head, I'm going to choose the tropical rainforest, might focus on the Amazon. 2 different ways. In my head, I'm going to go for slash and burn, and I'm going to go for ranching, large-scale ranching. So you don't have to choose this ecosystem, you don't have to choose these 2 methods, but to make the question easier, I would break it down like that. So you're looking at the similarities, differences environmental impacts between slash and burn and ranching, producing food in the tropical rainforest. It might be worth noting that slash and burn is done by subsistence farmers. Therefore, it is done on a small scale. Whereas ranching, well, MNCs, huge companies, mass farming, so that is a large scale. Well, already there's going to be a bit of a difference there. Now, okay, I'm going to go for it. So, in the tropical rainforest, which you would write out in full, in the tropical rainforest, such as the Amazon rainforest, along the equator in South America, because remember, we're going to locate every case study that we talk about. So in the tropical rainforest, such as the Amazon rainforest along the equator in South America, so farmers produce food via slash and burn and ranching. So I've made it clear, I've done a case study, I've located it, I've made it clear my two types of farming that I'm going to do. I'm just going to try and adjust the camera, 2 seconds, there we are. So, slash and burn, I'm just going to write S and B, but you would write it out in full, is done by subsistence farmers on a small scale. Therefore, small scale impacts. Also, you would need to explain here that because the slash and burn and then they move on, slash and burn, move on, slash and burn, move on, the soil has got time to recover. Okay, you would explain that in a little bit more detail. Then we throw in our connectives, compare, we need a connective. So we're going to say on the other hand, however, or I'm going to put on the other hand, make it clear. So ranching is generally large scale and therefore leads to mass deforestation. Now, we can put unlike slash and burn. This can lead to soil erosion. And of course, if your soil is being eroded, this can lead to loss of nutrients. Now, I haven't written this out in sentences, but you are saying essentially that slash and burn, you can add on to this as well and say that is bad. You are still deforesting. That is bad. Trees are being cut down. However, you're moving on and allowing the soil time to recover. So make sure that you then put a positive on that, saying slash and burn also does this. Sorry, not another positive, another comparison. And then ranching, make sure you answer it in sentences. Remember, a subsistence farmer is growing food to eat. This is cash, it might be cash crops if it's ranching. They're growing it to sell, but subsistence farmers are growing food to eat themselves, so it's small scale. Okay, so subsistence farmers are growing food to eat, whereas ranching might be done by multinational companies, huge farmers who are doing it for money, which is called a cash crop, but you don't necessarily need to know that. A good example of that would be palm oil. So you could use that as an example, palm oil in the tropical rainforest. So to be explicitly clear then, you've got your case study, you've got your 2 examples. You're saying slash and burn is on a small scale, so it's only got small impacts and the soil's got time to recover. On the other hand, however, ranching is large scale. Mass deforestation, unlike slash and burn, it leads to soil erosion, loss of nutrients, which can actually have long-lasting effects compared to slash and burn, which in the long term they can have recovered from. Okay, now you've all been emailed the mark scheme for these questions as well, so if you have any further questions or you want to look something up, have a look on your emails at the mark scheme, and if you do need anything, email myself or Miss Evans. Okay, but well done. That's all of theme 5, weather, climate, ecosystems. And now you need to watch the clips for theme 6 and theme 7 to go through the answers for them as well. Well done, everyone. You're all heroes. Well done.